Hey guys, we're on to transitions now. And transitions are a phrase that you should have heard before. They covered a lot in school here. So if you haven't heard the term used before, you probably haven't been paying attention in school that much, but you need to know these things. You need to know your howevers and your therefores. Use them a lot in your essays. And it's actually why the College Board tests you on it so much, because they want you to use those words. So let's see how they test you on transitions in the writing language section.
Transitions are key words that help you connect passages. Here you can see that the College Board is asking you, which one should we put in here? Which of these words connects these two sentences better? So let's take a look. What did the prior sentence say? Typically, the ice sheet begins to show evidence of thawing in late summer, following several weeks of higher temperatures. So make sure you think about what that means. Don't just read it and go, oh, okay, I read it. This is saying that the ice sheets normally begin to melt in late summer. The sentence afterwards says, in the summer of 2012, virtually the entire Greenland ice sheet underwent thawing at or near its surface by mid-July, the earliest date on record. So it's normally late summer, but this time it happened in mid-July. So it's very early. Would this be an example of late summer? No, definitely not, right? It's earlier. Is it a contrast from late summer? Yeah, we thought it'd be late summer, but it was actually earlier. As such, kind of means as a consequence or an example of the prior point. So again, that's not the answer. Moreover means it's an additional point. It's an additional point that's further building on the point earlier. But it's not. It's saying that something's different, something's unusual. So hence, that's not the answer either. So if you knew what each of these transitions meant, you would have found the answer must have been however. Let's try one more here. All right, we have different transitions here. We have however, we have in addition, for these reasons, and likewise. So as usual, begin with the prior sentence. The spaces are usually stocked with standard office equipment, such as photocopiers, printers, and fax machines. So the previous sentence talked about examples of what's normally in these spaces. In this sentence, we're saying the spaces often include small meeting areas and larger rooms for hosting presentations. So we talked about equipment, and now it's talking about the rooms that are there. So is that a contrast? Well, it's different, but is it something that opposes what was said before? Not really, right? I mean, we can leave it as a maybe because clearly it's not the same thing, but I'm giving you, extra information about the spaces. So I don't think it's a contrast, is it? B says, in addition to equipment. That's almost perfect because it's a new point in the same direction, which is, of course, describing these spaces. And just to make sure, they even told you it's in addition to the equipment, which they just mentioned. There's that extra connection. So B is almost definitely the answer. C says for these reasons, but that doesn't make sense. It's not because there's equipment, there's rooms. And it's not similarly or likewise, because what's similar about them? Like the way they have equipment is similar to the way they have rooms? I mean, if you really stretch your head, you could say, oh yeah, it's kind of a contrast because before it was equipment, now it's rooms. It's kind of similar because they're both things that are in the spaces. Maybe you need space for this equipment. All those answer choices are kind of, oh, maybe. But B gave me that double connected meaning. It said, in addition, here's a further point that describes the spaces, and in addition to the equipment. So I connected it 2 times. So I'm pretty sure that B must be the answer to that one.
So you can see that the skill of picking the right transition isn't that hard in itself, but the trouble comes in having to know what each of those transitions mean. Now, the major ones you probably know, but there are going to be some that perhaps you're not that familiar with. So I want to take you through a list of the most common ones, but you should try and supplement that with additional transitions too, if you really want to make sure that you're fully prepared for this test. Let's take a look.
So here are the most common transitions that appear a lot in the SAT. These have been showing up for years and years and years. Of course, your howevers and your likewises and moreovers and your therefores, all important. for examples. We see them all the time. You definitely want to know every single word on this list here. Pause, write them down. Try creating your own sentences using them to reinforce what they mean. I would, if I were you, go on the web and look for extra transitions, but not until you have these down 100%. If these are super easy for you and you already know them, go ahead. Review some websites that, there are plenty of them out there. Review some websites that give you some different transitions and add to your knowledge. But to recap, the most important thing when you're trying to pick the best transition is to look for the logical connections. How does that prior sentence connect to this sentence? What's the logical relationship? Which answer choice has the most logical connections? And secondly, make sure you memorize the list of transitions. Make sure you memorize this list of transitions.